Hello, everybody. Welcome once again to another episode of the Tigers Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Schulte, and you know what? These podcasts are going to be getting shorter and shorter as the year progresses because my wife is sitting next to me. I probably will have to edit this because there are 31 games left in the regular season for the Tigers, and no hope. There hasn't been any hope since about June of Detroit making the postseason. And in all honesty, even if they did make the postseason, one look at how they perform against other teams outside of the American League Central, and you can see that they would never get out of the first round anyway. They wouldn't even get past the wild card because of the way that this team is playing. It is abysmal. Actually, it's not bad, but we're not going to go into that too much. Mason Englert is still down in Toledo. The injury report, of course, real quick. Mason Englert is still down in Toledo. He probably won't come back until maybe later this week. He had a pretty rough outing the last time out since we talked last. Parker Meadows has been called up, of course, since we talked last. And actually, he was called up just before our podcast was recorded, and I didn't see the notification. So there you go. Not much going on with Spencer Turnbull. Casey Mize did throw a live BP on Saturday and apparently looked really good and felt really comfortable. He's apparently added 20 pounds of muscle and still maintained his body fat that he has, like his percentage of body fat, which is like 3 or 4% because he's a jerk. But anyway, that is a thing. So there you go. That's basically the injury report in a nutshell. Of course, Matt Boyd, will never see him again as a Tiger. Austin Meadows, will never see him again as a Tiger because neither one of them they're both on one-year deals. Matt Boyd, of course, recovering from Tommy John, and Austin Meadows, of course, recovering from anxiety issues. So we probably won't see them in Tigers uniforms again, which is sad because Austin Meadows and Matt Boyd are honestly two of the best guys in baseball. They're very good role models. They're very good teammates. Matt Boyd has, of course, Kingdom Home, which is a home that he has a foundation that he started to prevent sex trafficking in Uganda. Austin Meadows, of course, is now going to probably be one of the key spokespeople for mental illness in sports, not just in baseball, but in sports in general. And you know what? Those are good things. Those are things that, you know, we look at people and we look at these athletes and sometimes we don't necessarily remember the fact that they are humans. And in that context, they don't get the recognition that they deserve. Maybe not necessarily that they desire. I don't think they care about the fact that they don't get whether or not they get recognized. But we as people really should recognize a lot more of the good things that these athletes do because outside of the game, there's a lot going on with a lot of these premier athletes. Now you get the guys like Matt Vierling Nick Maton's not on the squad anymore. He went down to AAA when Parker Meadows got called up. But, you know, these types of players, these minimum league salary players, they're not going to be doing a lot in the way of charity work and stuff. They'll probably do some. But these players like Austin Meadows and Matt Boyd, Miguel Cabrera has a charity. Curtis Granderson has a big charity that he's involved with that he started while he was a Tiger. So, you know, these guys do a lot of work, a lot of good work in the community, and because they have the ability to do it, and they are basically giving back, and they're subscribing to the mantra that to whom much is given, much is expected. And you know what? That's a good thing. So that's my rant. I'll get off of that soapbox, and I am going to get onto a soapbox about the ownership in Detroit. We'll cover the week that was, and then we'll just get into this. So Detroit came off of a good road trip. They took 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. 3 out of 4 in Cleveland. Split a series with Minnesota, and that was a good deal. They were above 500 on the road trip. Then they came home and lost 2 out of 3 to the Cubs. They played the Cubs tough, but then they proceeded to absolutely fall apart against the Astros. Now, they beat the Astros 4-1 on Friday night, and then they ended up losing 9-2 and 17-4 on Saturday and Sunday. And that's the week that was. Kerry Carpenter with a grand slam to tie the game against the Cubs on Wednesday, and I scared my daughter because she was laying in my lap, and he hit a grand slam, and I cheered, and that scared her. So there you go. My wife and my daughter were both a little bit unnerved with that. So that is your week that was, and there really wasn't a lot to talk about in that week. Kerry Carpenter continues to hit. Spencer Torkelson continues to hit. Riley Green is slumping a little bit. His average has dipped down to 290. But, he's doing all right, I suppose. And, of course, Parker Meadows got called up on Sunday night last week and has not looked bad. He's hit his first homer. He's had some extra base power. And he's getting on base, not striking out. He's striking out a little bit, but not striking out too much. And doing good things in the field and at the plate. So those are all good things. In that Houston series, Miguel Cabrera hit his 510th career homer. He now has 3,152 total hits for his career. The numbers just keep going up, and he will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's coming coming close to the end of the season, and he's probably pretty thankful for that. I think he's ready to hang him up. So let's look at what's left for the Tigers. They have 31 games left now. They're 59 and 72. They just lost tonight 4-1 to the Yankees. This is being recorded on Monday, August 28th, 2023. It'll probably be posted on YouTube tonight. You probably won't get a notification about it until like Thursday, but that's how it goes. So they got 4 against the Yankees, now 3 against the Yankees this week in one of those weird Monday through Thursday series. Then they go on the road to Chicago for 3. Then they're in New York for 3. Then they're home to Chicago for 3. And the Reds for 3. Then they go on the road to L.A., to the Angels first, then the Dodgers, and then the Athletics. And those are all 3-game series. And then they finish the season home against the White Sox, Cleveland, and Kansas City. Now, let's look at these series on an individual basis, and I'm going to go into these, and I'm going to give you my predictions on these, okay? This Yankee series at home, that's a lost series. That's a 3-1 loss. They'll win a game, probably tomorrow night, if not Thursday. They won't win on Wednesday. They're facing Garrett Cole. Good night. Just forget about it right now. Series against the White Sox, that's winnable. Series against the Yankees next week, forget about it. 2 out of 3. They're done. Series against the series against the White Sox next Friday. That's winnable. Series against the Reds? Probably not. Going to LA for 6, 3 against the Dodgers and 3 against the Angels. You might as well go 2-4 on there, if not 1-5. The Angels swept Detroit when they came in last and played them last month. Now, the good news is Shohei Ohtani is not going to pitch, but he's going to hit. And he did a lot of that in Detroit. So we'll say 2-4 for that series. Those two series. Oakland. They never win in Oakland. So there's 1-2. Then they've got a chance to finish strong with 3 series wins because they've got the White Sox, the Guardians, and the Royals to finish out the year. And those are all home games. So they've got a chance to finish strong. Which they'll probably do. They will probably win those 3 series. But after that, look, Detroit's 25-15 against the Central. Everybody else, they're garbage. So when you're playing 10 games over 500 against your division, you would think that you would be in a position to make the playoffs. Not this team. You would think that you'd be in a position to play 500 baseball. Not this team. You would think that you'd be better against the rest of the league. Not this team. And then when you sit here in Windsor on a Monday evening, and Aaron Judge hits a ball off of the trademark of his bat that goes over 400 feet for a home run, and there are more Yankees fans in the stands than there are Tigers fans at Comerica Park, when Gleyber Torres hits a bomb and the Yankees go back to back, and you hear more Yankees fans than you do Tigers fans. This is a problem. Because it used to be when the Tigers were good, Yankees fans didn't get in. Red Sox fans didn't get in. Dodgers fans, Cubs fans didn't get in. Because all the Tigers fans would buy tickets. Now, if you're a player, or an executive for that matter, why do you want to come to Detroit? Certainly not the owner. You have an owner who went out and got a bargain basement shortstop. And I say that because Javi Baez is at 6 years, $140 million. Carlos Correa is 6 years, $200 million. Of course, Detroit didn't try to get Carlos Correa a second time because they already had Javi Baez and they were strapped with that contract. They're saddled with that contract until 2028. By that time, Carlos Correa is not going to be as good as he is now. He's already showing signs of decline. But you had an opportunity in 2021 to go out and get one of the premier players in the game. A guy who played for A.J. Hinch. A guy who considers A.J. Hinch a friend. A guy who considers A.J. Hinch a mentor. A guy who A.J. Hinch bought a gift for his baby. And you don't have the money to go get him. You don't have the financial wherewithal to put together a deal to go and get him. Last year, Justin Verlander was out on the market. You want this team to be better. You want this team to dominate the strike zone. Nobody dominates the strike zone like Justin Verlander. Coming off of a Cy Young winning season in 2022 after having Tommy John. You don't think he could have been a good mentor for Casey Mize or Spencer Turnbull? And you don't get him. Again, Friends with AJ Hinch. Last night, he sent AJ Hinch a text message thanking him for letting him have a moment to sort of recognize Miguel Cabrera and the things that he meant to him in the game yesterday when Verlander was pitching. So they're texting buddies at least. But you know what? The owner doesn't have the cash to go out and get him. Instead, your big signings, Michael Lorenzen at a year and $10 million. Matthew Boyd at a year and $10 million. Michael Lorenzen got traded for a Chinese second baseman. And Matt Boyd is on the shelf with Tommy John surgery. And this is not Scott Harris's fault. Because Scott Harris can't do with money that he doesn't have. This is Chris Ilitch saying, this is your budget, don't go out of it. Make it work. Put me together a winning team, but don't send me over the luxury tax. Put me together a winning team, but don't give me a high payroll. And not everybody can do it. Yes, we've got people from Tampa and executives from teams that have done it. But you can't, not everybody has that philosophy and not everybody has that ability to identify the talent the way that Tampa does or the way that the Braves do. You look at these teams, Atlanta doesn't have a huge payroll. They're probably mid level, a little bit higher. Certainly not the level of the Dodgers or the Yankees. But you look at Tampa, and I'm holding them up as the poster child for this type of thing because they are. So you look at Tampa and you sit there and go, okay, this is what we want to do. How do we do this? Well, we hire people who worked in the Tampa front office. Okay, that's fine. But where are you? Where are they? What position are they leaving and what position are you putting them in? Are you putting them in positions to succeed, to be able to make your organization better? And that's the problem that Scott Harris has. And I don't think he's figured out the answers to this, but part of the problem that he has is the fact that his owner is afraid of spending money. He's afraid of the bad contract. I get it. But this filters down to one of the things that Scott Harris said he wants to do in his opening press conference. He said, we want to develop, maintain, and retain talent. Well, you can't retain talent if your owner's not willing to spend the money. So here we go back into this circle. Spencer Torkelson is having a breakout year. Riley Green is having a breakout year. Harry Carpenter is having a breakout year. And why aren't these three guys signed to contract extensions? Chris Ilitch doesn't want the bad contract. He doesn't want the Eloy Jimenez contract. But then there's the things that work out. Luis Robert Jr. is having a pretty damn good year in Chicago, and he's been signed to an extension. Corbin Carroll is slumping a little bit, but he's going to be your rookie of the year. He's been signed to an extension. So for every Eloy Jimenez, I will point to Luis Robert Jr. and Corbin Carroll. Okay. I will point to whatever the Braves have done, because they know their talent. They know how to identify it. They know how to maintain it. They know how to retain it. And oh yeah, they're pretty good at developing it too. For every Eloy Jimenez, there's Wander Franco. There's Julio Rodriguez. And those guys have contract extensions. Rodriguez is a monster of an extension. He'll be in Seattle until he's like 58. But your owner, if you're a Tigers fan, would rather sit on his money because it makes a nice cushion and it's got his butt print in it. And instead of messing with his butt print and paying some of these guys, he's going to let him go. He's not going to let Scott Harris do his job. He's not going to let Scott Harris sign the free agents that we need to sign to be competitive while we wait for these draft picks to develop. He's not going to extend the players that we have, the good young players that we have, because he doesn't want to go over the luxury tax. He doesn't want a high payroll. And as a result, this team is going to continue losing. We have good players in the pipeline. Of course, Ryan Kreidler is going to be good. Dylan Dingler is going to be a decent catcher. We've got some good young pitching on the way. Sawyer Gibson-Long actually looks like he might pan out as a decent fifth starter. Jackson Jobe is pitching well. Jace Young is hitting. Max Clark is hitting. Don't know what they're going to do when Max Clark comes up to the big leagues and and Parker Meadows are, who's going to play where, because they're both center fielders. But at the end of the day, it isn't going to matter, because Parker Meadows probably won't be around because he'll be a free agent and Chris Ilitch won't have any interest in signing him. Riley Green won't be re-signed because Chris Ilitch won't have any interest in extending him. So Max Clark is going to be the only guy in the outfield. Good thing he's fast, because he's going to have to cover that entire Comerica Park outfield by himself. Because Chris Ilitch isn't going to do what he needs to do to surround him with the talent that he needs to surround him with for him to succeed. I want to thank Anchor for distributing the podcast. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/@TB Podcast. You can check us out on Mastodon @TB Podcast, @tweescake.social, TWEESECAKE.social. I'm on Twitter @Podcast Tigers. You can email the show, tigersbaseballpodcast@gmail.com. It's the world's longest email address, and I'm proud of it. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, we're around. But subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's more fun and it's more enjoyable. And you don't have to deal with cluttering up your phone with this podcast. So with that, I'm going to take off for this week, and we will see you guys next week. It's an off day for the Tigers next Monday, so that'll be fun. And we will catch up with you guys soon. Thanks for listening, and go Tigers.